Have you noticed it? That invisible wall between you and the rest of the world? You can sit in the same room, speak the same language, smile at the same jokes, and yet something doesn't connect. Something feels off. They laugh, you remain silent. They gossip, you withdraw. They obsess over things that feel empty to you. And you ask yourself again and again, why can't I relate to ordinary people? The truth is simple. You were never ordinary. You were never meant to fit in. That's why you've always felt different. That's why you've been misunderstood. You feel like you don't belong here, and you don't. Download now your free guide, 10 signs you were never an ordinary soul. You try to force it, don't you? You try to laugh when they laugh, care about what they care about, pretend you enjoy the things they enjoy. But inside, there's an emptiness. It's not that you're incapable of connection, it's that the connections being offered here are paper thin. Ordinary people are content to talk about weather, television, and salaries. But your mind drifts elsewhere, toward deeper truths, toward hidden realities, toward the fire you can't extinguish. That's why you've always felt different. That's why you've been misunderstood. Join the Catharsians on Patreon to unlock your hidden power. Here's the truth they never told you. Ordinary people don't remember. They have forgotten who they are, where they come from, and why they are here. But you haven't. Your soul still remembers. That's why shallow conversations exhaust you. That's why small talk feels like a performance. That's why you can't relate to ordinary people. It's not because you're cold, it's because you're awake, wide awake. You were never ordinary. You were never meant to fit in. There are months when you feel it in your bones, when a song, a dream, or a fleeting silence awakens something inside you, a knowing, a pull, a whisper. It's not imagination, it's memory. Memory of a freedom, of a world, of a truth that predates this one. And it sets you apart. Because while ordinary people are comfortable forgetting, you cannot forget. You refuse to. You carry the burden of memory. That's why you've always felt different. That's why you feel like you don't belong here. They don't just fail to connect with you, they misunderstand you. They label you as strange, weird, too much, aloof. They project their own limits onto you, trying to convince you that you're wrong for not wanting what they want. But you are not wrong. You never were. You were never ordinary. You were never meant to fit in. The reason they misunderstand you is because you speak a language they've forgotten how to hear. That's why you've always felt different. Ordinary people have surrendered. They've accepted cages disguised as comfort. They've traded their freedom for a paycheck, their fire for routine, their soul for approval. And yet, they call you strange for refusing to settle. How ironic is that? They call you difficult for refusing to bend. They call you broken for refusing to betray yourself. But you are not broken. You are unbroken. You can't be broken. You are untamed. You are alive. That's why you feel out of place. Because you were never meant to find peace in a prison. When you're around ordinary people, have you noticed how drained you feel? It's like they suck the energy out of you, as if their words, their expectations, their shallowness pulls you like gravity. It's not your imagination, it's the energy gap. Ordinary souls vibrate low because they have buried their truth. You vibrate higher because you refuse to bury yours. The clash of frequencies leaves you tired, restless, and longing to return to your own kind. You were never ordinary. You were never meant to fit in. You've been conditioned to see your difference as a curse. But it's not a curse, it's a crown. And you are the sacred outsider, the one who refuses to bend, the one who remembers when everyone else forgets. Ordinary people call it loneliness, but it's not loneliness, it's distinction, it's clarity, it's proof that your soul still remembers its origin. That's why you've always felt different. That's why you've been misunderstood. That's why you feel like you don't belong here, because you were never meant to belong here. Join the Catharsians on Patreon to unlock your secret suppressed power. Ordinary people bond over distractions, sports, gossip, politics, shallow entertainment. Their bonds are temporary, built on sand. But your soul craves sacred connection, truth spoken without fear, energy that ignites your spirit, conversations that leave you changed. That's why ordinary people can never satisfy you. They're offering crumbs when your soul demands fire. Look back at your story. How many times have you been the odd one out? How many times have you said what no one else dared to say? How many times have you walked away instead of betraying yourself? They call it alienation, but it's proof. Proof that you were never ordinary. Proof that you were never meant to fit in. Proof that you carry something extraordinary. That's why you've always felt different. So, why can't you relate to ordinary people? Because you were never meant to. You are not here to relate, you are here to awaken. You are not here to mirror, you're here to burn. You are not here to fit in, you're here to stand apart. Ordinary people live to forget, Catharsians live to remember. That's why you've always felt different. That's why you've been misunderstood. That's why you feel like you don't belong here. If you watched this far, it's because something in these words resonates deep inside you. Something ancient, something powerful, something that refuses to die. That voice inside you that whispers, you don't belong here. That fire inside you that screams, there's more than this. This rage inside you that demands, break the chains. That's not madness, it's just memory. You're a Catharsian. It's your Catharsian soul awakening. Speak your truth. Speak it until it shapes your destiny. Breathe it until you can no longer deny it. You were never ordinary. You were never meant to fit in. That's why you've always felt different. That's why you've been misunderstood. You feel like you don't belong here because you don't. And that truth, your truth, is your greatest power. Join the Catharsians on Patreon to unlock your secret, suppressed, hidden power.